Welcome one, welcome all to episode 195 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, September 16th, 2023. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. And in this episode, we will discuss the latest Xbox news. Unity has made a critical error and the time for attack has come. And we are on the eve of Xbox's Tokyo Game Show. Pretty darn excited there, and it is a good time to be a gamer. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we'd like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
Dude, I'm doing good. This is a good game week, man. We've got games to play. We got news to talk about. There's stupid stuff about like acquisitions, but honestly, like there's too much other good stuff to talk about that I'm like, we don't need to talk about the little minutia details of what's going on with the ABK deal. We can skip over that and talk about some video games.
Man, so there was a PlayStation State of Play, a Nintendo Direct. Unity blew up all of its relationships with every developer ever.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat codes went out. We didn't secure Mortal Kombat, but we wouldn't have had time to because the Crew and Phantom Liberty came in. So we're playing those for coverage. This week has been madness. In just the gaming space. It is wild. It is wild.
It's so crazy.
I know. And the last two episodes, we couldn't work together. Joseph Moran was kind enough to help us out on both fronts. He subbed in for you, and then he subbed in for me for health and internets and all that stuff. So we appreciate him. But
oh my gosh,
I'm so glad to get to talk to you now. And it's like it started when Starfield hit.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like to get two of the three codes that we were aiming for, we don't even have time. You know what I mean? It's nuts. I'm so excited for Phantom Liberty and the Crew conversations for all the reasons. But I mean, it feels good. Like I'm just excited to be back podcasting, be on schedule. But it's just like there's so much. How do you not talk about Spider-Man from the State of Play?
I know
the third party stuff. It's whew, man. Oh
dude.
Man. It's a good week.
Man. I'm so bummed that you didn't get a Mortal Kombat code because I know how much you love your fighters. And I was watching streams of it last night, and I was watching Sonic Fox, and I was like, God, this dude. First off, that dude is insane. Yeah. But secondly, it was just like he was playing. I think it's Kenshin. The Kenshin. Yeah.
The blind one. Is that who you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. I was watching his combos and stuff, and I was like, this is like devastating. There was one match where he literally was using the same move to a dude who just gave up in the corner after the first match. He's like, I can't beat Sonic.
Yeah, like what am I gonna do here?
It was ridiculous, dude. That game is so pretty. Oh my god! And there's so many little nostalgia trips in there too. But anyway,
well, it's on my list to get down the line. Like several games this year, it's gonna be like, hey, I'll get to you later. Love you, but. Because there's just too much to play, and I'm genuinely like, I love Street Fighter 6. When I'm getting a fighter like hankering, I do love Street Fighter 6. They've got a new character dropping that I am so not interested in, and it's just it's like ATI or AKI or something, I believe.
Yeah.
But like, I couldn't care less. I'm interested in Akuma, who's 2 months from now, and I feel like they know that. And they're like, hey, let's just this character when Mortal Kombat comes out. And the fighting game community is just so fortunate with this year. So fortunate.
Right?
So like
so crazy. Mm-hmm. Where did this year come out of that? They're like, hey guys, all that stuff that we said we were like, due to COVID and work from home, we've had to slow down production and stuff will come back. And now it's like, all right, we're good.
Yep. So Mortal Kombat's on my wait list, despite it being incredible. I know we have other stuff to get to, but I will say, like, the Crew, I'm so excited to jump into. It came in like middle of soccer week, so I just couldn't stop coaching and get ready and started.
I can't wait to talk about that. There's some really cool stuff in that game that we need to get into.
I'm anxious because Ains was telling me all about it, and it looks so much fun. So for sure. Logan, we like to start the show with words of kindness. Who are your words of kindness this week, man?
I'm gonna toss a shout out to Jess Hinkle. who may not sound like, you may not have heard of them, and that's 100% fine. You know, those folks that are like dedicated supporters to content creators, they don't create content themselves, but they are big supporters. Like they're just always there, championing the person. Jess is this person for Fran Mirabella, who's formerly of IGN and works over at Kinda Funny part-time. She has been like a godsend when it comes to Starfield stuff. And the reason I say that is because she's been moderating, she built out forums in Fran's Discord, and it's got like builds, spoilers, official announcements, content, patch notes, screenshots, like anything that you would see out of like a normal forum from the actual company. She's like replicated in Fran's Discord, and it's so well organized and it's so well like monitored that it's like it's just a real great way for me to be able to talk about stuff, to share things, to like keep up with stuff, and to grab a lot of the content that I find there and bring it over to the XEP Discord where I share it with our patrons.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have that. So shout out to her for putting so much time and energy into building that out. And there's only like a handful of people that even use it over there, but it's a lot of work for no return necessary. And it's just, I just wanted to share some appreciation out loud for that.
Jess is to Fran who Clint Combs is to me, and that makes me so happy. So happy. Everybody needs a Clint Combs in their life. It's awesome.
It's true. Awesome. Everybody, yeah. Yep. Mine is Trickster. Trickster for Keelhauled is 100% biggest supporter. Been there for forever, and just the greatest, kindest dude.
Those relationships are the best. Those relationships are the absolute best. I want to shout out Chris Baker real quick.
C-Bake.
Yeah, C-Bake. Exactly. Yeah, C-Bake. Just put out a book, which is really cool. I'm anxious to get into it. He sent me a copy, and I'm stoked for it. He put out a book. It's available on Amazon. Not very expensive at all. It's called X-Wings, Lightsabers, and Scorpion Vader. And it's all about the history of Star Wars video games.
Ooh.
So cool. I'm anxious to get into it. The trailer is amazing. You can find that on his Twitter at cbake76. But I'm really anxious to get into it because I love Star Wars games.
Yeah.
And it's like if you remember, there was a Star Wars video game where they didn't know the ending of Star Wars, so they just turned Darth Vader into a scorpion. And the player fought a scorpion. So it's all about Star Wars video games, and I'm so stoked to check it out for sure. So
that's funny.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
X-Wings, lightsabers, and Scorpion Vader.
Man, blame X's algorithm for me missing that tweet, because that's cool.
Oh yeah, X's algorithm is awful now. Twitter is just it's everything I say dies or explodes, and there's no in between, and it's really frustrating. So.
Oh man.
Hey, speaking of Patreon, I want to let listeners of XEP know that every Patreon dollar that comes in the month of September is going to be donated to Extra Life. I know a lot of shows do like their own special drive, and I love that, but I just don't have the bandwidth right now to like set that up, monitor it appropriately, do something. And so I think as a way to honor Extra Life, but still stay in the vein of XEP, I will donate every dollar given to Patreon for this month to Extra Life. I will probably find one of our sister show causes and divide it up accordingly so I can help all those shows. But it is a very small token of some of my appreciation for our patrons, but also as a way to give back. And if you stick around, that's amazing. You're helping out XEP long term. But if you just want to subscribe or support for a month and get access to our content, enjoy our content for a month, and then drop, no offense is taken there. I want to support the good cause, but I want to also keep within my own bandwidth. So every dollar from Patreon for this month will go towards Extra Life, and I'll divvy it out to our sister shows accordingly. And if you're keen to help XEP, feel free to stick around. If not, again, no offense is taken. As it's always said, it keeps the lights on, the content coming, and it's appreciated, never expected. So I just want to thank everybody that's listening. So thank you.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I know that this is a great way for folks. If you've ever wanted to see, like, you've heard us talk about like the additional content, you've heard us talk about the Discord, if you've wanted to try that and test it out, see what it's like, now is a great way to do the thing that you feel like you want to do anyway, which is kind of support Extra Life in charities in general. You know, I love doing that. I just closed out a fundraiser for one that I was working on Twitch for a long time. Nice. But this is a great way to donate to good cause.
Yeah.
Get a chance to check out content that you've been locked out of for the time being, without necessarily feeling like you don't know if you want to spend the money on it. This is an easy ask. You know, support a charity, get access to content, and then make the choice afterwards. Set a reminder on your calendar, like I do, for things like that.
Exactly. No offense is taken. Our Discord is so lovely with such positive people. That's the benefit of having it be a closed ecosystem. People that are there want to be there and be supportive. And we play all games. We talk about all games. It's a blast. So
Yep. And they pay for that access. They pay for you know, that content and stuff like that. And you can see when you invest into something like that, you tend to cherish it and kind of, you know, build the culture that you want. And it definitely shows with the folks that are there. Definitely appreciate them. Not to say that everyone else isn't lovely, because you're not supporting us.
No,
but that's
everyone that listens is supporting. But people in Patreon, you guys have helped us cover games that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten to, connect with each other, website stuff. So we thank you guys.
Yeah, so. And they're better.
All right, let's read some names here. Are you ready? It's nice to be back together. Here come our Patreon tier 2 and 3 shout outs. Robbie Bobby Miller, Silent Cypher, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randolph Thor 19, Silkenet, Rick Gaffney, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you guys for supporting XEP. We really appreciate you guys. You keep the lights on, the content coming. Always appreciated. Never is it expected. You guys are amazing. Some housekeeping, Logan. Already out, of course, is my Shredder's Revenge interview for the DLC. That did really well. A lot of Turtles content creators chatted with me about that, which was really fun. I'm set to interview the Immortals of Aveum director, but they got some rough news this past week.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's going to happen, and I respect if they decide not to. So
I hope they do.
Love them and support them, because that sucks.
If you get a chance to push that, like, I really want to get the groundswell on this, because there was a lot of conversation that I have about that. But so, yeah, if you want to jump into the EA stuff, we can jump into the EA stuff. Yeah, let's talk about EA for a bit. You sent me a nice little message that kind of summed it up. There's a lot of things happening with EA, unfortunately. Most recently, the Immortals of Aveum studio suffered massive layoffs, something like over 50%. It was 50% of their staff. I knew it was over 40%, something like 47, 48, 49 in there. But if it's 50, that's even worse. The CEO, Brett Robbins, who is the person we had set to talk to, went out on Twitter, sent an extremely heartfelt post saying he really supports his team, loves his team. It sounds like it's EA, if you're listening, but Ascendant Studios was an indie developer that just was being published by EA. And there's some weird middle ground there, but it really showcases a problem with that type of studio ramp up and then spin down if the game doesn't land right away or in the right time. And specific to Immortals of Aveum, which is a great video game. We really liked that video game. It did not sell well because it hit a delay and then came up right up at the edge of the kind of start of this season. And it's a real big shame, I think, Logan, to see this happening. There's another thing happening with Wild Hearts, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I hate seeing this happen to the Immortals of Aveum team and Ascendant Studios because they did a great job. They made a great video game. I've been chatting with some of their people at the studio via email, and they made a great product, but the release window just really hurt them. And it sucks because what do? Do you delay all the way to February or January, or do you get it out when you can? Like, what is the studio? Do you move them on to other projects?
And this is what happens when
this is exactly what I hate about third-party publishers. Because this is the problem that you don't see with first-party publishers. If a first-party publisher puts out a title and it doesn't do well, it has the rest of the studios in the first-party lineup to start to kind of like pick up the slack. Like nothing is dependent on that one game studio. Immortals of Aveum is a brand new IP. No one has seen this game come out prior to it. It's not a sequel. It's not a remake. A lot of folks are just buying remakes. A lot of folks are just buying sequels. And when you come out with a fresh IP, there's a lot of trepidation. It's a big ask to ask someone to drop $70 for a title that they have no history about. And there was a question, I think, from the Lord Sir Master James Suddy about whether or not reviews even mattered, in our Discord. And this is a time where I think reviews matter, because if they had been able to delay Immortals of Aveum, maybe clean up some of the bugs that we'd come across that are just kind of, they're not even niggling.
They're like
small bugs. The game plays just fine. There's no issues with it.
Smooth as butter. I love it.
But with a third party studio, EA doesn't necessarily, or a publisher, EA doesn't necessarily have to delay that if they don't want to. They can say, okay, well, it meets all the critical failure points. The game is in a playable state. Marketing's ramping up. We're not going to delay it. We're just going to push it out. And the studio has to deal with that. And this is one of those situations where it being an Unreal 5 game, it uses Lumen. It uses the new facial animation stuff. It's
so well,
really good game. The problem that I'm running into is that people are not buying 7s at full price. And that hurts studios. We saw it this year again with Callisto Protocol. New IP, full price. People didn't want to buy it. They wanted to buy Dead Space Remake because they knew what they were getting, and they were willing to spend the money on the fresh look for the game that they know they already like. It's why Resident Evil 4 is doing so well. It's a great game, but it's a remake.
Right.
Same thing with Metroid Prime 4. Or not Metroid Prime 4. Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime 4 doesn't exist. Sorry.
It's not real. I had a whole Nintendo Direct that didn't happen again.
It didn't. It really didn't. EA killing this studio because the Immortals of Aveum didn't do well. This is a minor spoiler, but there is a place in a world where Immortals of Aveum 2 happens. And because it doesn't sell well, according to EA, it's not worth keeping the studio on full time to be able to make Immortals of Aveum 2, which is a shame because they already have a ton of experience with UE5. And UE5 is getting a new update that is going to make it even better. A really good update. So it kills me that folks aren't willing to invest in new IP, not because I don't understand like why they aren't doing it. I 100% get why people don't want to buy a new IP, especially if it's like in the 7s as far as Metacritic score. And I think this also is to the argument of why reviews can help or hinder a thing, because if this was a new IP, like Sea of Stars, and it was getting 9s and 10s, then people would take a chance on it more likely. Like Cult of Lamb did really, really well. It was a new IP. It got really high scores and whatnot. But it's an interesting thing that folks are not willing to buy 7s at full price nowadays. And I think it's a real shame.
Fully agree. Total bummer. I hate that this has happened, but the thing that sucks about it is they put that effort in. They really worked on this game in UE5, as you said, and then it's just done. Like, this team is talented. Like, the director, Brett Robbins, is a storied and famed director who's done a great job across a number of genres and games. And he's putting out there, he's like, these people are talented. If you need positions, link up. I will give you references. I will show you their work. This wasn't like a mismanagement thing. This wasn't like, hey, somebody at Ascendant is being greedy, to our knowledge at this point in time. It stinks. And it's a trend at EA, again, third party publisher here, but like their Wild Hearts 7 months ago was launched, and it looks like it's going to be shutting down. They're ending support supposedly, at least the last time I read about it. That stinks, you know.
Yeah.
Sig Asmussen is left. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Respawn. That's the director for Jedi Fallen Order and worked on Jedi Survivor. And I believe he directed Survivor as well. That stinks. And it makes you wonder, okay, is this an EA problem, an industry problem? Because I can look at Aveum and say, okay, this was a release date issue, right? This was a problem with timing. You come out a month earlier, you're selling nonstop, right? It just bums me out, but it makes me worry for EA. I feel like it's just a bad news week when you kind of look at it.
We see this with like Square Enix. Square Enix releases, has had all of the Tomb Raiders, Crystal Dynamics, and they would release a really good game. And it because it was a good game, not an excellent game or a masterpiece or something. People didn't buy into it. People started to like nitpick the little things about it instead of actually playing the game. And it was a fresh IP, and it's just it's a shame. You see this with like Forspoken. Forspoken's a solid game if you play it. If you don't play it, then you can sit there and poke at the voice acting choices that they had the voice director in the booth telling the actors what to say and how to say it. You can nitpick that stuff, but if you play the actual game, it's a solid game and it looks great. The special effects for that game are really good and the systems are deep, but it's another one of those things. It's a fresh IP. The studio put it out. It didn't get high review scores. And as a result, people didn't buy it. People didn't actually give it a chance. And a lot of things are just happening with different studios like that are third-party publishers that are like, if it doesn't hit, they either choose to shutter the studio or they move them on to different things, and we never get another new IP because it's not a remake. It's not guaranteed cash.
Right.
And it sucks. I hate it. I hate it so much. I'm
fully inclined to agree with you. I hate that we can't take certain risks in the gaming industry and that one misstep damages everything. I look at Diablo as an example of that. Diablo launched, everyone was loving it. Tragic misstep with what they did with season 1.
Yeah.
And they're not going to recover. I do not think they will recover anytime soon. Not when the demands of gamers' time and money are spread so thin in this window here, because I'm surely going to play The Crew. Phantom Liberty, I'm excited to get into, but I might play Phantom Liberty for a bit and then put it down just because I want to get into the action game that is Spider-Man 2, which looks incredible. I want to get into the spooky game that is Alan Wake. Forza Motorsport's in there. I think we owe our fans and audience some coverage there. It's, and amidst all that, Starfield I don't want to put down right now. Sonic Superstars is coming out. If you're a Nintendo fan, Mario Wonder is coming. There's just so much. So something is going to get lost in the shuffle. Does Diablo have a chance at coming back? No, not in this window of time. Not until January. Doesn't matter what they do, I don't think.
It's got its audience though.
But it's not going to. It lost too much of it.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
It did. There's a lot of burned bridges with the first season. The second season, I think, will bring some folks back. We probably won't see a big upswell of interest again until the next expansion, though.
It's fair. That's fair. But I hope that they just sit on it for a little bit. It's kind of like, all right, imagine Sea of Thieves, and one of the most successful Xbox IPs in the last 10 years, puts out an expansion, like a big one right now. Would anybody gravitate to Sea of Thieves that wasn't already there? No. There's just too many.
They're doing that right now, actually.
But like, is it like, I mean, like the biggest one, like, because the Monkey Island, I don't think is pulling people through.
Monkey Island is the biggest content drop they've had all year, and it is a storied franchise with 30 years of lineage built behind it. Not to say that it's mainstream.
Yeah, I was like, I don't see an IGN writing an article on it.
That's because no one at IGN plays it.
Well, as this Xbox content creator has no problems with IGN ever.
I love IGN. I really do like the content they put out. but they do not have anyone playing Sea of Thieves over there, and I understand why, because there's so much to play. But yeah, they're more than welcome to hire me to write articles about Sea of Thieves. I will happily keep people up to date, or buy my podcast.
You legitimately be really good at that. You legitimately be really good at that.
Yeah. Per Schneider, love you, buddy. You feel free to buy Keelhauled. That's I will continue to sign on as a part-time, content creator for that, and write up articles for you if you want. I'll even capture the video.
Will you vamp for just like 2 seconds while I close my window? Because there's a moving truck outside.
So I want to talk about this, and I'm gonna dive into this while Luke is away. We're gonna just move right into the next topic, which is Unity, and how Unity has decided to just scorch earth, salt the ground. Like they are not trying to actually be a profitable engine anymore. If you guys don't know, Unity is a popular engine, often used by smaller teams, owing to its often compared lower fees when it comes to actually like paying. Or welcome back. We're talking about how Unity is scorching the earth and salting the land. They do not want to be an engine manufacturer anymore, apparently. So they announced that it will follow other engines in charging a runtime fee starting at the beginning of the year. Luke, I have been following this all week. It has been madness seeing the studios that use Unity come out in frustration. Did you get a chance to dig into this at all?
Oh my. So I was in gaming like exile this week, because I was just coming back from being sick, work, coaching, and it still hit my feeds. I'm still well aware of what's going on. I cannot fathom how leadership, and this is the leadership at Unity is the same guy that once wanted to charge people to reload in Battlefield. Like, I listened to his speech on that. I listened to the audio when he actually said that, and he was like, if somebody's playing Battlefield for 6 hours, and we've got them as a customer and they're invested, and then their clip runs out, at that point, they're going to be willing to pay $1 to reload. We could take advantage of that. I see games going this way. This is the same guy that rolled this out, and I feel so bad for the Unity PR teams that have to deal with this, for the many developers that were just blindsided by the idea. I don't know if you got into how they get charged. It is so remarkably frustrating to think that somebody can just come in and swoop this out from under your legs. And this is in the same, like, this is the kind of argument people say, well, you don't own your digital library, don't keep things in the cloud, don't put all your eggs in one basket, yada, 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 yada. And I understand, like, there is a line, but I can't imagine, like, I had Graham of Legend on a few weeks ago. Graham, he made, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the name, but a really cool, like, really lo-fi beats shooter. Real chill, hit PC. It was supposed to hit Xbox. He's working on that. He's trying to work out some kinks with Unity. But as a small developer, this could destroy him. This could wipe out his ability to make his rent while working in the games industry, and it's retroactively hitting him. That's not fair. That's just wrong. It just boggles my mind that this could happen.
Yeah. Can I, so I don't know how familiar you are with it, but Slay the Spire is a very popular card-based roguelike. Yep. And it was one of the first, and the graphics are not fantastic, but it is a really good game. Can I read their statement out that they put out about this?
It's a good statement. Hit it.
Yeah. So the studio is Megacrit, and they put out the little banner, the little image on X that tells you, like, what's going on. It's usually a delay.jpg is what I save. This has not been a delay.jpg. So the makers of Slay the Spire, the Megacrit team has been hard at work these past 2.5 years on a new game. But unlike with Slay the Spire, the engine we have been developing it in is Unity. The retroactive pricing structure of runtime fees is not only harmful in the myriad of ways to developers, especially indies, it is also a violation of trust. We believe Unity is fully aware of this, and seeing as how they've gone as far to remove their terms of service from GitHub, which is it's a repository for code that's free for everyone to be able to use, but also for keeping your code base, just as a little background on that. Despite the immense amount of time and effort our team has already poured into development on our new title, we will be migrating to a new engine unless the changes are completely reverted and the TOS protections are put in place. We've never made a public statement before. This is how badly you've up. This is from one of the biggest indie games that came out not that long ago. Slay the Spire is insanely big. And the fact that they had to make a public statement about how bad this is shows how devastating this is going to be. The makers of Cult of Lamb they put out a statement as well. They basically said, hey, buy our game now, because as soon as the new year comes in, we're deleting the game because we don't want to have to deal with the retroactive fees of Cult of Lamb like being popular. And it's just like it would be the same as if the government said, oh, there was a law that we wanted to put in place that was going to charge you more on your taxes, and we're going to apply it for the entirety that you've been paying taxes. Hope you got money.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's wild. And like, there are plenty of people at Unity that don't like this, that don't want this to happen. I've been following some of the reporting. There were people planning protests, planning walkouts, but it's just, this affects and impacts so many things across the gaming industry. If there is not an engine that's easily accessible for small developers to work with at an affordable buy-in price, then what happens is your development pipeline, the people that are learning to create games, they don't have an avenue to better themselves, and your talent stream dies out. We need people to have access to Unreal, to have access to Unity, to have access to any other method of creating games in engines at an affordable price. Like, it's important. And this is a slimy way to go about it. If you wanted to build things into future contracts, fine. But the moment they took down their TOS from GitHub, the moment they started changing their terms of service and applying things retroactively, it leads people to never want to work with them again. I don't see Unity recovering any of 100% of the goodwill they've got. They might be able to make some steps to walk it back. The guy could step down, et cetera, et cetera. But they've truly damaged their ability to work with it. And I sincerely hope that other engine makers are capitalizing on this, right? Like, hey, come try ours. Here's a way. If you were affected by Unity, come do this. Because this is going to impact gaming across the board, big and small, for several years. And we can't quantify how that's going to be impacted for a good bit.
And not only just studios too. This is this kind of a backstab to developers in general. This is going to filter down. This is going to go all the way down to the community colleges, where you've got former developers who are now working as teachers to teach the next generation of gamers and developers how to build games. They use things like the free version of Unreal and Unity to have like students build out games. There are coding sessions, coding camps that are having kids learn how to develop in Unity. And if they can't learn how to do that without fear of these kind of fees coming to studios who honestly can't afford this, that is going to dry up the well of developers that are coming, because there's not a solid, uniform alternative that affords the ease of entry when it comes to fees and stuff like that. In Unreal, you can develop all you want on Unreal, but if you can't monetize that the way, without having to deal with the fees, then it's tougher, which is what made Unity so good. And it really sucks to have to see this. It is really painful to see them try. And the reason why this is all coming out is because there are so many mobile games that are built into Unity that are getting millions of downloads. And if you retroactively apply a download fee for games that are in the millions, you stand to earn millions of dollars off of that, even if you're only charging 20 cents per download. Yep. This also doesn't, they honestly don't adequately address how you stop people from troll downloading a game to harm the developer financially. Like, no longer will boycotts be the thing. It will now be buy the game and download it as many times as you can. And
the
it's
idea, the idea that you can do that and it damage them financially.
Yeah.
That's not review bombing. That's a whole nother level of evil.
Yeah. And that's, and you can tell, like, this choice was made, this decision was made without those concessions in mind, because their response is, we'll have a team to identify trolls. Sure. Okay. I trust that.
Yep. X has the same team.
Yep.
You know, Twitter's doing just as well.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Can we get into positive stuff?
Is there positive news this week?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
if you're about to talk about the Xbox Mastercard, I will throw something at you, because I thought this was ridiculous.
Okay, all right. We can't
I
get
couldn't
into
even believe you
yet.
hit it into the notes. So funny.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, so yeah, Xbox is making a Mastercard. Now, okay, seriousness. We're not financial advisors. Please do not take our opinion as informed decisions that you should make. That's my disclaimer. You should always consult someone who has actual financial standing in some sort of industry that deals with banking. If you have questions about this, do your own research on this. But Xbox is making their own Mastercard. I think the idea is really cool. There's no annual fee, which I honestly expect with credit cards nowadays. I don't expect to pay money to own a credit card. I'm giving you money on loan. You're giving me interest based off of it. I shouldn't have to pay a fee just to have it. The thing that this is doing is that the card is actually going to be giving you points for purchases made through your Xbox account. So you're going to be getting 5 times the card points on eligible products through the Microsoft Store. So you can earn $1 for each purchase spent. Streaming services count as 3 times the card points on eligible services like Netflix and Disney Plus. Dining delivery services will also earn you $3 for three times the card points on eligible dining deliveries like Grubhub and DoorDash. And then everyday purchases are going to just be like 1 times card points and stuff like that. So this is a really good like target audience for streamers who are buying content through the store, who are using streaming services, and who typically don't have time or don't know how to cook for themselves and do a lot of DoorDash and Grubhub stuff. So they know who they should be targeting for this card. Here's the rub. The APR on this, which is the rate that they actually charge you if you do not pay off your credit card, varies between 20.
You know, my eyes have already glazed over. I'm already bored.
You've already fallen asleep.
I'm already bored.
My God, I do not blame you. There's a really good there's a really good saying when it comes to credit cards. Those that have good credit don't need credit. Those that need credit don't have good, or those that need credit should not be getting credit cards. Yeah. The thing with this is the annual percentage rate, which is for purchases. You know, if you haven't paid off your card, they will charge you interest on it. You know, it's how they make money. 20 to 32%. 20 to 32%. That is double the baseline of what sales tax is in California. We have like 10% sales tax here. I've never seen a credit card so egregious when it comes to this. Imagine, folks, if you can, any purchase you make through the store, if Microsoft just tacked on an extra 30%. And that's what this credit card would be doing if you didn't pay it off. So I'm just letting you all know right now, this is not a good credit card to go with. There are much better credit cards to go with.
That's what I needed. It sucks.
It's not good. I will say that it's cool that they're doing it because, you know, you can get your gamer tag on there. It's got Xbox logo. You're like, oh yeah, I support the Xbox. No, do not do this. This is not like, it's one thing to buy a mini fridge. It's a completely another thing to go with a credit card. Buy the mini fridge, pay for another controller. Do not get this credit card.
Fair. There we go. I'm in. I got it. Credit card bad.
Credit card bad.
This concludes our segment of Logan's financial advice.
That is not financial advice. That is me telling you it's a bad thing. You make your own financial decisions.
Logan specifically said for all of you to go buy this credit card. It was said by Logan Keller. He's a captain, everyone. You got to listen to him.
Oh, my God.
All right. Let's talk about the crew real quick. Because we are going to dive into this. We got our codes a little bit late, and that's on me. I forgot to check my email. So I'm excited by the crew coming out for two reasons. One, I'm seeing and hearing very good things about it. Ains is very high on this game. IGN came in a bit lower at a 7. Please make your jokes accordingly. And leave IGN alone. Come on. But the game on Metacritic is doing fine. Ains is really high on it. I trust Ains. He's one of those reviewers that I tend to agree with on certain things, and racing games are one of them. He also knows his racing games quite well. I'm excited for this. The second reason, Logan, is because the Crew Motorfest adopts the formula of Forza Horizon and then adds in boats and planes, I believe, if I'm correct in that. I hope I'm not crazy there.
Motorcycles and planes. I don't know about boats.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I said boats. Whoops. But it adds in other vehicles. Let's put it that way. But the Forza formula is so much fun. And I think Xbox gamers get to know this. Xbox gamers are familiar with this. I think Forza Horizon is one of the most popular franchises in Xbox history for good reason. And I think it's really cool to see the crew kind of lending itself over there. It already was kind of teasing into Forza Horizon territory, but this is a great experience for PlayStation gamers to get into because the formula is so well respected. And again, I'm saying this because I appreciate the formula. I have not gone hands-on with it at this point, but from everything I hear, it's quite positive. I want people to check this out because you can do a 5-hour free trial and your progress carries over if you buy the game. So everybody can check this out and play it for themselves. And I don't want people to miss out on that great formula that is the Horizon style formula.
Yeah, I want it. Okay, so I've gone through. I haven't gotten a lot of time on it, but I've gone through one of the playlists, which was the oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of it, but it was
one of the early playlists you can do.
Yeah, it's like one of the first ones that you can jump into. I started out with the muscle car, and then I quickly switched over to what was the playlist called? It was the customs playlist where it talks about Liberty Walk. There we go. Okay. I knew it was in my brain somewhere. I played through all of Liberty Walk's playlist, which if you guys don't know, in the game, they have like setup races with setup cars, and you go through those to get the reward at the end of the playlist. And as I was playing through this, first off, it is 100% Forza Horizon style. Like it just feels like that. I actually think I like the Crew Motorfest more than Forza Horizon 5. First off, it takes place.
How many hours are you in roughly?
Probably about 3.
So like the opening 3 hours feels better. That's interesting. Okay.
Yes. And here's why. It takes place in Hawaii, which is beautiful. Really, really great setting for that. The playlist that I played through, and I saw the way that they were going to do this with the rest of the other playlists. First off, the cars feel great. The world looks good. I can tell that Forza Horizon looks a little better as far as like quality goes, but I don't mind it because I'm driving fast. First off, there's nitros in like all the cars. So nice. in that feels so good. Like, especially when you kind of mess up a turn a little bit and you're like, oh crap, I lost all this juice, making this really bad turn. And someone tries to like just barely kind of like squeak ahead of you. You can hit the nitros and you go forward just a little bit just to keep that lead. Like, I love that. I love having that little thing in the back of my pocket that helps out, you know? But doing the Liberty Walk, which is an actual like a shop in Hawaii, is Japanese based, and it's all designed around like custom build, you know, car body kits, performance tweaks, doing things like that. But it extends beyond that as well too. There's like a real life kind of like little mini doc that prompts you at the beginning of the playlist, and you get to learn a little bit about what Liberty Walk is. And dude, I was honestly like, as I'm playing through each of the races, they've got the disembodied voice, and the disembodied voice isn't just like talking for the sake of talking. It's actually giving you like context and history behind the Liberty Walk, like why these cars are so cool, why the
body Hot Wheels and Horizon. They did you like Hot Wheels. It's like that same premise.
Yes.
Nice.
And it's based off of real stuff. And I was like, dude, this is really cool. I really love, like, you know, I'm in a race, I'm focused on it, but I'm going to be listening to either music or someone talk to me. Why not get a little history on this? And I really, really appreciated that. That was one aspect that I really enjoyed. Everything about Forza Horizon is in the Crew Motorfest. And the other thing that I really enjoyed about this was it pulls you from free play to, you know, going and doing the specific races. But in between then, there's a lot more music variety. Like right now I'm listening to like classic, like oldies music, and it's great getting like 60s, 70s, 50s musics, you know, really good songs, bopping and stuff. But then you can pop over to like EDM music, or you can pop over to like different genres of music and really kind of, you know, find your style as you're driving around. The only issues that I've had so far with the game is that the car currency is in two forms of magic space bucks. There's the magic space bucks that you spend real money on, and then there's the magic space bucks that you earn in game. And the price for in-game currency for cars through the shop is really high. Like I've only spent I've spent a few hours in the game. I'm maybe, I think, a third or a fifth of the way to earning enough to be able to buy the DeLorean that I want. And they've got the DeLorean in there. They know people are going to go for a DeLorean. It's in like every racing game. It's like a staple at this point.
Right.
Everyone wants the Back to the Future car. But it is, I think, like 500,000 credits. And I think I'm only at like 150,000 credits or something like that. It's either 3 or 5. I can't quite remember.
Gotcha.
But they know that that's their incentive. That's their microtransaction. You can buy the cars for real currency if you buy like the credits from in-game store. So you don't have to, though. You can earn all that stuff in there. But that's the only egregious thing that I can find with this game, because everything else plays well, looks fantastic. It's got the rewind system in there. It's got the nitros booster in there. The playlists are solid. The history behind the playlists is fantastic. I love it. I think they've done a really good job with that. They've nailed the formula. So if you have played through Forza Horizon 5 and you've had a good time with it, motorsport's right around the corner, and you think super serious sim is just not my thing, you can still get some of that in Motorfest. Motorfest still has like the actual kind of Formula One racing, you know, tire wear, stuff like that. It's not going to be to the level of sim that like GT7 is, or that Forza Motorsport will be. You can still get that in Motorfest, though, and it's not going to be as in depth. So if you like Horizon over Motorsport, go with the Crew Motorfest, because you will not be disappointed. New setting, very lush, has all the trappings that you enjoy about Horizon, and still has like a little bit of that motorsport in there, and then just add planes and motorcycles on top. And they even have my Honda CBR 1000. So I'm 100% happy with that. I can't wait to get my CBR. That's
good to hear. And see, that makes me want to play it, because I am hankering for a racing game, so that, because it's just different enough from Starfield that I am okay like transitioning between them. And I feel like I can get in, play a unique and fun experience, have a good time with it, because motorsport was never designed for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was never built for me. And so that raises my spirits and my hopes. So I'm excited by that for sure.
Yeah, you will get a good kick out of the Crew. I think you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have fun with it. I think a lot of folks that like Horizon 5 are going to really enjoy this. This is definitely, I can recommend this with certainty just off of the few hours that I've played. I can see myself wanting to jump. I want to jump back into the muscle car playlist and actually go do that. But they've got like the Tokyo Drift stuff. They've got like the Dune Buggy stuff. They've got the, the muscle car. They've got classic cars, like super old Porsches and Camaros and stuff. And then they've got like the Lamborghini stuff as the supercars and whatnot. It's all there. Like they've done a fantastic job.
And reviews are quite positive. Like IGN's lowest was the 70, but then like Gaming Bolt was giving it an 80. Ains again, very high on it. And it does a 5-hour free trial and your progress carries. So consider that, especially if you are a PlayStation gamer and you see the Forza Horizon formula and you're thinking about it. Definitely check that out, guys. Now, so this next story, Logan, Apple announces native games on iPhone 15. I am curious about this, but my week did not allow me to research this topic. I heard about it a little bit on Trophy Room. I'm curious, but not interested, if that makes sense.
Nor should you be. Having video games play natively on iPhones is cool. Like the integrated chips that Apple makes are some of the best that you can possibly imagine out there. Like they've figured out the formula to getting that. The interesting thing about the iPhone 15 was that this is going to have hardware accelerated ray tracing, which has never been done in a phone before. It is going to have the native gameplay for Resident Evil 4 remake, Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I feel like I'm missing one on there. I think they're bringing Resident Evil Village as well too. And Ubisoft talked about wanting to support this as well. The interesting thing here to me is people were excited that they could get a native version of Resident Evil 4 on their phone. I do not recommend that. As someone who has been through the iPhone ecosystem since the 3GS, when it was really, like long in the tooth, I will say, if you buy games on your phone, there is no guarantee that in 2 generations that game will be supported and run on the new phone. There are plenty of apps that have died on older phones that I cannot play, that I have purchased. And I'm not even kidding you about that. So there's games that I was like, oh, cool, Infinity Blade, I will buy that. It looks cool. It's like the freshest game on iPhone. Looks fantastic. Bought it, can't play it. So when they say like, oh, this game will play native, cool. They do not respect games in the lineage the way like Xbox does with backwards compatibility to ensure that that is going to happen. I will say in 3 generations, I may be eating crow on this, but I'm willing to say right now, I do not think that folks should invest in video games like this just because they're native, because this is on par for me as buying games through that Google service that just died. Stadia. This is it's a license to play it. It's not an owning thing. You're going to be much better off buying through a tried and tested ecosystem, whether it be Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft. Even Nintendo's getting behind the idea of carrying your digital library over. So just want to toss that out there. It's really cool that they're doing this with the tech. The fact that a phone can do this is amazing. I fully anticipate the fact that it's weird that the iPhone 15 will be able to play Resident Evil 4 remake before Nintendo Switch. And that is when it came out. When it came out on the GameCube. Had its own special controller, and Nintendo isn't going to have it before iPhones do.
Yeah, and for all intents and purposes, it sounds like that Switch 2 is on its way. Like it's close.
Yeah,
it's close, which I'm fine with, especially after seeing the Nintendo Direct. Like, good. If Nintendo specifically does what iPhone don't, when it comes to, like legacy titles,
Yeah.
like I don't have to rebuy, I'm in because I've got some Metroid games I really want to get back to. If I could play all of them, a Star Fox, I'd love to play like I don't want to rebuy Star Fox 64, but if I can buy it once and it sticks to my account now, cool. Like they've said, maybe cool. I want to see it,
Did you see that R-Wing that someone built in Starfield?
Not yet.
Oh my God. I will send you a photo later.
Yeah, please do. Please do. I thought this next story was really cool. Titanfall 2 has gotten some updates. Now, Titanfall 2 is one of, to me, the best shooters ever made. Like, if you're talking about like multiplayer plus campaign all together, to me, it's one of the top 5 first-person shooters ever made. I love Titanfall 2. It's just got a special place in my heart. It got an update recently that mimics some of the references that were happening in Apex Legends. They did things like cleaning up some of the multiplayer bugs that were happening, fixing the private match elements there. And I really hope this is a sign of future Titanfall love. I think they're definitely deserving of more Titanfall. I love that franchise. I hate what EA did to it. We're talking about release dates with Immortals of Aveum a few weeks back. Or I was sorry, a few weeks ago, and we talked about it earlier in the show. They destroyed Titanfall with a release date nestled between Battlefield, which was making its return, and the COD of that year, and that really stinks because Titanfall 2 is so good. So if this is a sign that we're going to see Titanfall make a return, I am that much more happy. If it's a sign that Titanfall 2 is playable again, that's amazing. It consistently and routinely goes on sale for like $3-4, and then concurrent players jumps to like 20,000 on Steam alone. That's really cool to see. And so I really hope this is a sign that we get more Titanfall.
That would be cool. Because Titanfall 2 is an amazing game. I came to it when it was like one of those $5 deals. Played through the campaign, and it was like, wow, this is a killer game. Why does EA constantly try to destroy their single player content? Because it feels like this could have been like a really, I mean, it's like Star Wars, Jedi Fallen Order, and Survivor. It's like these are really good games coming out from EA, and for whatever reason, they just love to try and destroy any goodwill that they can garner with stuff. Like everyone was really high on EA. They're like, all right, they're finally getting back to single player games and stuff like that. And then they murder the crew for Immortals of Aveum. They shut down Wild Hearts. The director for Survivor and Fallen Order leaves. It's like nowhere does it feel like EA understands how much people enjoy the games that their studios actually put out when it isn't a Madden or a FIFA.
Yep.
It's a bummer.
So frustrating. Yeah. And those devs deserve better. But that said, I hope this is a sign of something because I'm really excited by the idea of more Titanfall.
We need more mech games like this where you get into the mech, you get out of the mech, you have gameplay for both. Titanfall is like the perfect game that encapsulates like the idea of like a Gundam game from like a new IP standpoint that has like a fresh world, isn't tied down by all of the Gundam stuff or the stigma behind anime. It's just really good. It's just a really fantastic game, man.
Agreed. Well, Logan, I think it's time to get some listener mail. It's nice to be back in the saddle for the two of us kind of simultaneously for sure. Let's see here. Oh, while I'm talking about it, go back and check out my creator talk with Miss Deus Geek, guys. That was a really good creator talk, and she's an incredible Xbox content creator. It's on Patreon. It'll go public to YouTube, but give those creator talks a listen. I think those are really neat. Let's see here. We have a question from Mr. Rob Frawley. I love Rob. He says, conversely, I'd love a discussion on how reviewers are criticized from every side are in a lose-lose situation. People don't seem to understand that reviews are literally subjective opinions about a game, and if the opinion doesn't match theirs, people freak out. You'd have to imagine that Rob is referencing a lot of the hoopla that came around Starfield. Are reviewers in a lose-lose situation here?
I mean, anytime you put out your opinion anywhere, you're already opening yourself up to the praise and scrutiny that comes from this. As I've mentioned in the past, review scores can help or hinder a game's launch. But I think it is important that honesty and disclosure comes with reviews. I think as long as you're honest with yourself about how you feel about the game, and you feel like you've gone through the paces to actually say like, this game is worth this, or this game is worth picking up regardless of the price, because the price is going to vary over the time. But this is how the game actually plays, looks, feels, and operates. Those are important consumer decisions in factoring whether or not people should be buying games. I don't think anyone should be buying a game solely off of the score of a game, though.
Right.
Like, you really need to make sure, like, Baldur's Gate 3 is a amazing game, and I respect that. I'm not going to buy that game because of the high score of it, because I know the type of gamer I am, and I know the type of game that I like. And Baldur's Gate 3 has some of the trappings for games that I don't like, that I'm going to stay away from. If someone puts out a review, you're going to have to deal with the hate and the love. That's just part of it. You know, we as content creators are putting our thoughts and our feelings on the table for scrutiny, and it's not a lose-lose situation. It's not a win-win situation. It's a win-lose situation. You're never going to please everyone all the time. So I don't think that people should really, like, I think people need to back off on attacking reviewers based on their score. Honestly, I think they're getting a little up in their feelings about that kind of stuff. It's just a score. There's lots of other reviewers out there. Find the ones that you like and follow them for their score. Stop looking at Metacritic and individual scores that contribute to a Metacritic, and the ones that are lower attacking a game because they didn't feel like it. If you feel like it justified a higher score, like, get out of here. Screw you. You shouldn't be making, you want to have your opinion, make a website, make a podcast, put your opinion out there, and then deal with the hate.
I'm inclined to agree. I think anytime somebody says something publicly, they're available for public scrutiny, whatever it is, particularly when it comes to critiquing a game. So anybody that's frustrated or critically disagreeing with a reviewer, that reviewer has opened themselves up to that critique. What they've not opened themselves up to is being attacked because they gave it a score you don't like, don't agree with. Specific to Starfield, we saw people going after GameSpot and IGN that hadn't played the game, hadn't gone hands-on, hadn't experienced it, didn't read the review, didn't understand what the experiences were that reviewer had. To put simply, if you play Starfield for 10 hours, 20 hours, I totally see where you can get a 10 out of that experience. I also see where you can get a 7, because so much of Starfield is a situational event. You know, did you warp into an area and suddenly you were attacked by bounty hunters? Because that was kind of the one of the near infinite setups you could have had, and you love fighting bounty hunters, suddenly your benefit goes up. Were you exploring a planet where you were attacked by the local fauna, and then out of nowhere bounty hunters dropped in? Or were you on a quest line that was so obscure because you walked by and happened to hear an NPC talk about it, and then it reminded you of your late mother? Like, these moments can take place in Starfield or be completely missed. Yeah. And that's the beauty and brilliance of it. It's like when I hear people critique Sea of Thieves. Like, we know a lot of our friends don't like Sea of Thieves. I've said Ainsley's name a lot on this show. He's ugly, but he doesn't like Sea of Thieves. He has never had the experiences that I've had in Sea of Thieves. His review will be very different, and it comes from having so many available possibilities and running into them or not. None of us should be purchasing and not purchasing based on review scores alone. And I agree with you, Logan. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 is not a game for Luke Lohr. Starfield wasn't meant to be, but I had access. I tried it. But like, I wouldn't go buy Baldur's Gate based on its review score. Would I watch coverage, listen to people I'm interested in, hear their experiences, read the review, and say, okay, does this match something that I'm interested in? Then we're good. But I've seen any number of Criterion movies that are considered the best ever, but like, do I want to go watch Casablanca? No, that's not something I want to do. Do I want to watch every Christopher Nolan movie? No. Some of them are heartbreaking, right? It's a matter of what you're interested in and inform yourself on it. They're well entitled to their opinion, those reviewers. You are not entitled to be a jackass about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand it. There was one guy that showed up on my Twitter feed this week because I was frustrated with encumbrance in Starfield. Starfield, a game that I'm almost 48 hours into, that I freaking love, that it's my game of the year now. Yeah, Brooke, yeah, exactly. But like, it's my game of the year right now. And there are some things I really don't like about Starfield. And this guy was like on my feed. I'm like, bro, you don't even follow me. What are you doing? Like, you're spending your time, instead of playing, enjoying, out there attacking. It's frustrating. And so review scores can do more harm than good, if weaponized. So
yeah.
Let's see. Next question. This one comes from Matt Reed. He says, back to a conversation a couple weeks back. Game reviews today, some written for clicks, others to further a brand versus true reviews. What influence does this have on the industry and gaming purchasing? So I read this one specifically after Rob's because I think it ties in. Do you think the industry is influenced by reviews when it comes to purchasing a game? Because I would say yes. I think when you get that accolade trailer where it says, this many people give it this many 10s and 9s, I think when you can make marketing built around that, it does influence purchasers. I think word of mouth. I think the lists that different manufacturers create or collate. So like when you have the most purchased section on an Xbox store, when you have the most played section, most viewed section, those certainly make a difference. And I think reviews can lead to that. That does lead to purchases down the line. So I think they do have an influence. I don't think reviews have as much of an influence as they once did when you bought a Game Pro, bought an EGM or something.
I think they have more influence now.
Talk to me.
Well, I think the conversation, because the reviews all culminate to a score, right? And the score is what gets aggregated, and then that score is the bar that has to be met for people to make a purchasing decision. And because there are so many outlets out there nowadays that can all sign up and contribute to the aggregated data, I think that reviews are impacting game purchases a lot more. We just talked about how a fantastic game in Immortals of Aveum did not sell well because it was a 7. And because it had some issues. Now, if this was a Game Pro magazine, most people would probably not have bought the magazine. They would have walked into Toys R Us or KB Toys or something, and they probably would have just picked it up because it had a cool cover. Back when we looked at the cover, that's what, like, all Atari games were based off of like the look of the cover. So I will say that I think that, unfortunately, I think that the influence of reviews have been swaying. And yes, I do think that there are definitely outlets that favor certain either ecosystems or types of game. If you don't believe me, go watch Skill Up. The dude has a hard on for freaking FPS rhythm games, and I don't blame him. They're great. They're fun. But he's also very subjective when it comes to his opinions for all games.
As he's allowed to be.
But if you watch Skill Up, you will see that he has a type, and every gamer has a type. That's why IGN tries to hire on as many independent reviewers as possible, because they know that there's not going to always be someone who is a fighting game expert. There's not always going to be someone who is a baseball expert. They're not always going to be someone that is a motorsport expert. So having multiple people who that is their forte will help give more informed reviews for the consumer as reference to whether or not this game is worth looking at, not buying, looking at. But yeah, I do think that reviews, especially the ones, and there's a whole conversation about like early access that we might get into that I would like to dive into if we get a chance.
Yeah, let's make that a next week topic, but I'll ask you right now. Mortal Kombat, the release date is the 19th of September. if you buy the early access, you can play it this weekend, starting on the 15th. I think is when you could have played it first.
Yeah.
I don't want the explanation. I don't want the reasoning, because I want this to be a good conversation for a different show.
Yeah.
But is the game out now, or is it on the 19th?
It's out now.
All right. I agree. All right. Let's go to Mr. Jose Martinez's question. Side note, Jose Martinez helped me with new avatars. They are fantastic. I love them. I've requested some of you, Logan. I put one in the thumbnail for this episode with me angry. I'm going to see if that YouTube algorithm likes it. It's an experiment, and I'm well aware some of my buddies are going to be like, Luke, Lohr, what is this? And I'm going to be like, hey, shut up.
Why did they sound like your Southern aunt?
I just decided that's what Ains and Joe should sound like.
Ains and Joe sound like your Southern aunt. Walked in
Sweetie,
your room, lifted up a shirt and was like, what are all these little rags down here?
Sweet Pea, what are you doing with your thumbnails? It's ridiculous. Okay. Jose says, after an interesting development this week on our end, what are your thoughts on Logan? What are your and Logan thoughts on paying for early access? Does price matter? Does the amount of time matter? So, I think price matters. I think the amount of time matters. 3 days doesn't matter to me unless it's a weekend. And then it's a little different because I have time on the weekend, right? My money versus the time investment is important. For something like Mortal Kombat, I do not have $100 to spend on a couple hours worth of that fighting game that I know is going to live and die for a long time after this. For a game like Starfield, where I paid a $30 upgrade fee and I didn't know if I wanted to play it, but I was interested for coverage, it was easy to do.
Plus you got a week.
And and you got a good chunk of time there. Yeah. So it really does. It's a case-by-case basis, which I don't think is a dodge to his question, but it's going to matter about my interest, how much money I have available, to the amount of time I have available. All of those things do matter. They absolutely do matter. And again, we'll talk about whether or not the game is actually out or not on a different show. But I do think it is okay to pay for quote unquote early access, but I don't think early access and game preview should be confused with one another. And sometimes they're used interchangeably in the wrong ways.
I'm going to say, honestly, I think early access is a huge scam. It is the new version of loot boxes. The game's done. Like the day one patch is there for early access. I really think that spending money on this, here are the people that will benefit from this. The people who are really excited about the game. They're already bought in. They want to have as much time with it as possible. They don't want to miss out on the zeitgeist. They want to have they want it as early as possible. They're willing to spend the money on the super big collector's edition. The other people who probably don't need to buy the early access, because chances are if they are, they're getting a code from the developers already, or from marketing, are streamers. Having early access gives you a head start in the viewers. Being one of the few people who can actually stream a game before anyone else has access to it feeds into the FOMO that is created through marketing and gives you guaranteed viewership, because no one else is able to play this game. And you're one of the few lucky ones. So having early access is huge for streamers. For the regular consumer, though, it's a perfect opportunity for you to A, not spend any extra money, and B, decide if this is something that you want to jump into. Now's a perfect time to decide if you want to actually play Mortal Kombat 1, because you can sit there and watch a bunch of people on stream playing it through early access. That will, if you're on the fence about a game and you're not sure if you want to do it, early access is great to skim through feeds and see like who's playing what, see like what you think of it, stuff like that. But I stand by my feelings that it is a giant scam. The game's done. Just sell it. Charging people more for a portion of time to be able to play it early. I really hate that, but I'll buy into it depending on the situation. Like Starfield and Forza Horizon 5 were two situations where I was like, I want to play it now. I'm willing to spend the $30 for early access. But I'm also being very hypocritical about this because Disney tried to do this with Disney Plus back in 2020 when they were launching Mulan. And they said, if you want to watch Mulan and you don't want to go to movie theaters, you have to pay for Disney Plus and you have to buy the movie. You have to spend $20 to get access to the movie. And if you do not play, or if you do not pay for Disney Plus afterwards, even though you've spent $20 to watch Mulan, you will not have access to that movie. You do not own a copy of the movie if you've bought it. That is exactly what's going on with here. I hated it with Disney Plus. I'm okay with it with Game Pass. I'm being hypocritical about this, but it's passions that are conflated here.
I think that's why for me it's case by case, but I don't see it as a scam. Particularly given, like, am I paying for early access or am I paying for the bonuses that come with it in the upgrade edition and the collector's editions of Starfield? You're getting other content, expansions, something. So it's specific to the versions that you're talking about.
Yeah, but aren't like the little extra hootie doos, the hats that you get with the pre-order bonus, like in or the early access, all of that's just marketing scam too. If you're just,
I don't think it's a scam if you know what it is. If you know what it is, then you are choosing to do it, and the onus is on you as a consumer to make an informed decision.
A pyramid scheme is still a pyramid scheme, even if I know it's a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, okay, but I'm not sure I equate these things to a pyramid scheme. Yes, a pyramid scheme is a pyramid scheme, but I'm not sure I equate the two.
Not that this is, but I can see a scam and know it's a scam, even if I'm not buying into the scam.
But you do buy into the scam sometimes. You just said you're being hypocritical. Sometimes you are.
I know.
That's why it has to be case by case.
I don't, but I can still call it a scam is the thing.
Okay. All right.
I can still recognize that it is, and I will call it as that, even if I buy into it, knowing that I am buying into it.
Gotcha. See, for me, it's a matter of value. Like how much do you want versus need versus have to spend on. It's like ship sets in Sea of Thieves. Like they're expensive.
Yeah.
But if you really want to look like a Spartan in Halo, you're going to spend some money. Or you really want, So I think that's where it is. Like to me, it could be a scam to get the collector's edition of a ship livery, but it also glows, and I really like glowy. You know what I mean? So
it really does come down to personal choice. Like, do you feel like these cosmetics are worth actual additional money? For context, I have spent over at this point, it's probably close to $250, if not $300 a year, in Sea of Thieves since microtransactions came out. That's more they've had cosmetics available since like 2019. That's close to like $600 for a game that I spent $60 at launch. That's 10 times the amount of money they've gotten from me for cosmetics than the actual game that they sold me. So you really have to think about like, how much money are you investing in these games? Start to keep track of these microtransactions, because like microtransactions themselves, they're made smaller to try and obfuscate the amount of money that you're spending over time.
Yeah.
So,
all right. I'm curious to see if people weigh in, because I really love when people make comments on below and let us know what they think. So let us know what you guys think. This one is a question for me. If you could get a Babylon 5 game, what would you want it to be, and who would develop it? Can't wait to talk Babylon 5 with you on Secret Friends Unite. Love Ox. That's from Todd Oxtra. I love him. I've been playing Starfield like a Babylon 5 game, if I'm being honest with you. I've really enjoyed that. If you could get capital ships into Starfield and a little more Starfighter-esque style ships, a little bit easier, I would love that to be my Babylon 5 game, because you got a lot of the politics and you got a lot of the elements of it. I'm in season 5 of my rewatch, and then I can talk about the new movie with Todd. But to do a Babylon 5 game, right, because it's such a niche thing, you'd have to have a really good game to turn heads for it. there was a game, I forget, Rebel Galaxy 1 had some really good capital ship battles. That'd be a good one to have. And then the Rebel Galaxy 2 was a good starfighter style game. But I think you'd want like something where you're moving around and flying a white star and stuff. In fact, in Starfield, Logan, my ships are called the White Stars, so I fly White Stars 1, 2, and 3. Because I want the White Star fleet because it's cool. So
that's fair.
Hey, Kevin asks a good question. He says, "When
I don't get to jump in on the Babylon 5 thing."
I didn't know you knew Babylon 5. I forgot. Go ahead.
I would like to see BioWare do a Babylon 5 game. Just like Ubisoft is doing an Avatar game, I'm totally fine with companies picking up IPs to make their game with an IP skin on top of it. Like I'm fine playing Blue People Far Cry. Totally cool with that. I would love for BioWare to do that because I think BioWare respects story and choices enough that they could do justice to a good Babylon 5 game. But that's just my thoughts.
I maintain B5 is the best sci-fi ever written, with some of the worst budget ever. You know, like you go back and watch it, you're like, all right. But it's so fun. It's like that. The Shadow War is so cool. All right. Kevin asks us when we'll both feel personally done with Starfield. That's a great question. I think it's one of those things I'll just know, Logan. Right now I'm 48 hours in. I anticipate probably doing about 48 hours more and probably feeling done. I anticipate that, but I could be wrong. Elden Ring, I was 185 hours. Cyberpunk, I want to say 140. Like, you know, when I'm done, I'm done. Yeah. But I don't have an interest in redoing missions. So New Game Plus does not appeal to me. And I really hate, I got you. I see you. But I really hate the missions I'm doing right now for the Freestar Collective. I don't like being a space cop. I like being a Jedi. It's two different things. I like going back and reporting to the Marshal.
Brutal.
He sucks. And I will, if I could just murder Sam Coe with no consequences, I would. He and his daughter are the most obnoxious characters ever. Wow. I cannot stand him. He's like, yeah, back in my day. Shut up, Sam. You suck. You suck. I don't like you. And I can't give his daughter books, but she keeps saying, I want books. Shut up, Cora. You're annoying. I'm trying to save the galaxy here.
Man. And this is why Luke doesn't have kids, but he is a teacher, ladies and gentlemen. I have 4 days of game time in this game.
Good job, Logan.
Thank you. I'm going to have to put this game down. I do not want to put this game down. Honestly, I gave up raiding Destiny 2 this weekend because I wanted to, because I was going to be playing the Crew Motorfest, and that was taking time away from Starfield. I am at the Unity quest. I know what the Unity is now. I am very curious about New Game Plus as a result. I really want to see where that takes me because I think it's kind of cool that they're doing it this way. But at the same time, I still have a couple other factions that I want to go through on my main playthrough. And there's talent points that I want to unlock. I just unlocked the highest tier of shipbuilding. Oh, dude, the stuff that you get with that is so nice. I'm so happy with it. But
I don't want to build my ship. I want to buy it.
Dude, there's some really good ones to buy too at the higher tiers too.
The reason I say is like I want a base. I want a base, but I don't want to. That's not fun for me to build that stuff. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. The base building stuff I think is cool. I don't think it's nearly as like most of my outposts are like mining factories at this point. Like they're just on planets that have resources that are feeding me minerals for being able to build other stuff. I don't really like a lot of that stuff. I think there's a lot of things that could be improved there.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were not going to spoil anything for anybody, just to be clear, guys. So I'm being vague. Have you done the Mantis? Mantis quest line?
No.
So I have the Mantis ship. That's what I'm using right now. That's White Star 2.
Yes.
And I just got the Freestar ship. And then I got another ship for doing UC, which I forgot. So like, and then like most of my game has been a horror game, and now it's like I'm a space cop game, and I want it to go back to being a horror game.
You need to go do the keep on the Freestar stuff because I think it'll kick you out to another storyline.
Okay.
But I do think you should do some of the main missions, though. I think some of the main missions, I don't think you've gotten to a point yet where you've unlocked a certain thing.
Okay.
And I think you need to kind of push through that main storyline. Honestly,
Okay.
the main storyline has some of the gravitas that I was not expecting. That actually surprised me. I was actually quite happy with it. But I think I'll feel done with the game when I finally decide to start up a new game plus. Because I think I want to see how that works. And I don't think that I'll feel like I'll be done with it until I do that. And I want to complete a couple more side factions before I jump into that. So it may be a while, unfortunately, because we're getting access to Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. I'm going to be restarting Cyberpunk.
Okay.
And I will be going through the paces of testing out my old build, which was a cyberware build, because they've done heavy augments to that system, and I want to see how the quick hack system works. So I'm going to be going back through Cyberpunk. So I have to put down Starfield for the time being because of Cyberpunk, but I do not feel done with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, it'll be a while, I think, before I'm done. I don't want to be done. The last question comes from Matthew Kennedy. He says, is the new curveball update in State of Decay 2 calling your name? I've been enjoying my time with the game, but nothing had me coming back to it. I wasn't the biggest fan of Juggernaut. What say you guys? Think this will pull you back in? Matt, I love State of Decay 1, 2. I've liked all the updates. However, I'm not headed back to State of Decay 2 for the foreseeable future, despite the love they're pouring in, just because of all the stuff that's coming. I'm really stoked for Alan Wake and Spider-Man. I'm really stoked for more Starfield, for Crew Motorfest. I anticipate playing Everspace 2 before the end of the year, and then Avatar is on the horizon. So I'm going to end Sonic Superstars. So I won't be touching some games and like Mortal Kombat. I will play some Phantom Liberty for coverage, but like there's some stuff that's just not happening, and there's no way a State of Decay 2 could get into my playlist. Sea of Thieves wouldn't get into my playlist right now, even though those are games that I cherish and love. So I think that's kind of my issue. Where do you stand on that, Logan?
I still have not played State of Decay 2. So okay. So for context, to be able to answer Matthew Kennedy's question, I went and I watched the Washu studio podcast that they had. I thought it was really cool what they were doing. I think that they've got some fun stuff planned with Curveball, which is an augment to some of the zombies out there. They've got little purple eyes and stuff, and there's some cool little things that they're tweaking with it compared to just the Juggernaut edition, which brought in the I'm blanking on the name, the heart thing.
I know what you're talking about. And
yeah,
I'll tell you,
Plague
it's
Heart?
the right time of year. Plague Heart, yes. And it's the right time of year for a spooky. So like maybe I'm eating my words, because I do want a spooky. I like a spooky.
I mean, I would love to start up a community and play through the game and get an understanding of it and stuff. Cause I was watching them play through that, and it looks like it looks like effectively like a Division, but zombie version of the Division. Like you've got gear, you're running around in third person. You're kind of, it looks cool. It looks really fun. I'm glad that Wushu is picking up on State of Decay 2 compared to the team, compared to I just blanked on the studio's name. Undead Labs doing State of Decay 3, because that's effectively like what's going on right now. Like State of Decay 2 still out there, it's still available, it's still on Game Pass, but the content is shifting over to Wushu Studios, which is a UK based studio, while Undead Labs starts focusing really focusing on State of Decay 3, which I'm excited for, because I think that'll be a really cool next gen game, especially if they continue using Unreal 5 for State of Decay 3. I think that'll be really awesome. So it's good that they're getting updates. It's good that we talk about the update, because not a lot of people think about State of Decay 2. And with it being, kind of spooky time with Halloween, I'm already in the mood. I've been listening to Halloween stuff all month. And this is going to be a good update for folks that have wanted a reason to go back and stay to Decay 2, or like myself, want to go check it out and have people now interested to jump in and actually check it out. I just don't know if I have the time.
Right. Same. Well, that's going to do it for our episode this week, Logan. I am so appreciative to you, to Joseph Moran, for filling in last week. I'm so glad we got to podcast together here. Listeners, I appreciate all of you that are listening. If you're watching, if you've clicked like, if you're subscribed, if you're a Patreon supporter, genuinely thank you for helping us make the content we love making. It feels really good, especially in such a busy time in regular life. So thank you guys for that. You can find me on Twitter at InsipidGhost, and you can find XEP on all your podcast platforms of choice. Really encourage you guys to come check out our Discord. It's a blast. Logan, let people know where they can find you.
I'm over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. Other than that, you can always check out the Keelhauled podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the quote unquote Wish You Were Here event, which is kind of a grand tour of all things Sea of Thieves for some content that you can't get until later. You get early access to content just by playing the game. It's available on Game Pass. I'll be talking about that this week on Keelhauled podcast. The Discord for that podcast is in the show notes, as always. Otherwise, I'm going to be in the XEP Discord as well, talking to folks about Starfield, sharing images of all the cool ships that people have built in there, like a Bebop from Turtles, that someone just made a Bebop head in Starfield. Random. And that's pretty much it.
All right. That's going to be it from us, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.